Now we come to the very heart of a sales presentation. What is it that makes the prospect want to listen to you? Dale Carnegie says that there is only one way under heaven to get anyone to do anything, and that is to make them want to do it. So, first, we have to make them want to listen, then show them enough benefits to make them want to buy. Elder R.E. Appenzeller, Publishing Department Secretary of the Southwestern Union, has been the publishing secretary of prospect to feel a big need. Ron Appenzeller, how do you intensify needs in the minds of people who say,
I don't need any more books. My children don't read the ones we have now.
These words are not new to the literature evangelist. In fact, some have wondered if prospects attend a special institute on sales resistance and learn certain stock objections. They don't, of course, but literature evangelists through the years have learned that most people's objections are basically the same.
I don't need any more books.
Isn't she really saying,
I don't want any more books. I don't feel the need for them.
But she felt the need at one time because she bought some books that her children aren't reading. Just because she says she doesn't need books doesn't make it so. You know that she does need your books. Her eternal salvation and that of her family may very well depend on her recognizing that need. Because you are a God-called literature evangelist, and because your responsibility is to place books in as many homes as possible, you must show that prospect a definite need. Let's go back again to that prospect's response.
I don't need any more books.
Most people react this same way because everyone's basic needs are similar, and if they don't feel the need for something, they naturally object to it. Literature evangelists who consistently sell the most books are the ones who have learned to intensify the prospect's needs to the point where objections are put aside in favor of satisfying that need. Then it stands to reason that if you're going to become a top literature evangelist, you must first of all learn what the basic needs are, and then intensify or magnify them until satisfying that need becomes of supreme importance to your prospect. So important that he'll spend his hard-earned cash. What are some of these basic needs that are so important to everyone?
Besides food, water, clothing, and shelter, I feel the need for security, freedom from fear, social prestige, good health, and eternal life, just to name a few. As a parent, I need to be assured of healthy, happy, well-adjusted, normal children whose achievements I can be proud of.
These are the type of things that people strive for and bend all of their energies to attain. That's why people buy encyclopedias, pay for hospital insurance, support nominal churches, and spend hundreds of dollars for the braces on Jimmy's teeth. Since many are self-satisfied and have already attained many of these things, how can we cause them to feel a need for our product through these avenues? We do this by the skillful use of facts that call their attention to their needs and intensify them in their minds. Many times these are negative facts which relate to certain specific areas of their life. For instance, cancer is the nation's most gruesome killer. Statistics show that on the average, at least one person in every family will be stricken with some form of cancer. Serious as cancer is, the problem of heart disease is even greater, because 1 out of 4 deaths is caused by heart attacks. Heart specialists tell us that most cases of heart disease can be avoided if we would only follow the latest information on the prevention of heart ailments. You can live longer if you know how to care for your heart. Facts like these cause a prospect to ask himself,
can this happen to my family? Will I be one of the 4 who die from a heart attack?
These facts show the need and intensify it to the point where he's willing to listen to you. Then follows a presentation of your material which fills that need. Let's take another example. An increasing number of children, adolescents, and young adults from all socioeconomic levels in North America are succumbing each year to the allure of the chemically induced paradise, drugs. In the current upsurge of drug abuse, the age of commencement of drug taking has been dropping from the upper to the lower teens, and even to the preteens. The very young, ages 6 to 14, are almost exclusively cough syrup drinkers or sniffers, inhaling glue, gasoline, cleaning fluid, lighter fluid, and even the freon used in aerosol insecticide and deodorant sprays. Among those aged 15 to 19, there's an increase in the use of marijuana. Many are turning to heroin and morphine. Heroin has been tried at least once by roughly 1.5 million Americans of high school age. All of these potential killers are available to your children right now in your neighborhood. A clean-cut teenager testified before a Senate subcommittee that he has made over $1,000 per month by selling drugs to his school friends. He wasn't suspected because he kept his hair cut short, dressed conservatively, and made good grades in school. After hearing facts like these, the prospect is thinking,
how can I protect my child from this kind of thing?
Facts like these make a tremendous impact on the minds of parents today. They emphasize the need, magnify the problem, and bring it directly home. You, as a Seventh-day Adventist literature evangelist, have the answer to this problem right in your briefcase. The Bible Story for Character Building, Listen Magazine, and the drug supplements for drug abuse education, along with our other fine publications. Because this is true, it is imperative that you study the material you are selling and be familiar with the content. Many facts which you can use are found in the publications you sell. Another excellent source is the local newspaper. Scan the paper daily. Build a file of clippings dealing with such information. Commit these facts to memory and use them as reserve points in a second and third close attempt, as well as in the introduction to your sales presentation. Most of all, keep up to date. If possible, refer to events and statistics printed only yesterday. Let's go back once more to that statement from our prospect.
I don't need any more books. My children don't read the ones we have now.
This is an excellent opportunity to point out the keen competition that exists for the reading time of today's children. What are they reading? Much of the material found on the newsstands today is either of the horror variety or is sex-oriented. It might even be well to have one or two of the horror-type comic books to show the parents. This will let them see the type of material that is available to every youngster. Let me emphasize that it's not necessary to spend a great deal of time browsing through smutty newsstands looking for material. A comic book or two shown and mentioning the varieties sold will be enough to conjure up a picture in the prospect's mind. Facts related to TV viewing are always relevant. Here are some shockers. It is estimated that children between the ages of 4 and 11 spend an average of 31.5 hours per week watching TV. Anna Wolf points out that the Evaluation Committee of the National Association for Better Radio and TV monitored the crime and horror programs on the air before 9 o'clock in the evening for 1 week in one area. She reports the tabulation for crimes for that week: 144 murders, 143 attempted murders, 53 justifiable killings, 14 cases of drugging, 12 jailbreaks, 36 robberies, 6 thefts, 13 kidnappings, 6 burglaries, 7 cases of torture, 6 extortion cases, 5 blackmail, 11 planned murders, and so forth. Miss Wolf adds that these figures do not include the innumerable prolonged fights, the threats to kill, sluggings, the forced confessions. Neither do they include the incidents of crime on daytime serials. By the age of 12, the average child will have seen 13,000 murders on television. What will be the effect? By the age of 18, the average child will have watched 22,000 hours of television and attended school only 12,000 hours. More and more psychologists are recommending reading to their very small children. Dr. Gary Cleveland Myers suggests that parents begin to read to their child at 12 months, certainly not any later than 2 years old. He says that beginning to read to a child at this early age will not only help him to appreciate books, but will also improve his ability to learn when he does begin school. Others say that a child's IQ can be increased, and they advocate beginning to read to youngsters as early as 9 months old. It is well to remember that in presenting facts that will intensify the needs of your prospect, to use different types of visual aids. This will make a fixed impression on the prospect's mind. In this way, facts about current events can be used to an even greater degree. Clippings arranged neatly in a plastic folder can be shown. I heartily recommend the new Your World Coming Apart prospectus. Your publishing leader may recommend something similar. The point is, visual aids make a much greater impression than spoken words alone. You know this, and you've heard some of these facts that I've related here before. The ideal time to use facts that intensify your prospect's need is before they tell you that they don't need your books. Use facts as an introduction to your sales presentation. Don't wait until they object. Build a mountain-high problem in their minds at the beginning, and they will listen. In this tape, I have attempted to not only give you some facts, but to show how these facts and others which you can add will intensify your prospect's need. Let me impress upon your minds one last fact. A recent survey taken in one large conference revealed that 30% of the literature evangelists make 75% of the total sales. This means that 70% of the literature evangelists in that conference are limping along in mediocrity. What makes the difference? Self-improvement in most cases. The question is, are you going to put this information to work? Do you feel the need of becoming a better gospel salesman? Just as your prospect must feel a need before he buys your books, so you must feel a need for improvement before you will improve. What are you going to do?
Elder M.R. Lyon, Publishing Secretary of the North Pacific Union, has trained literature evangelists to be successful in Alabama, in Virginia, in Iowa, in Indonesia, Japan, and the islands of the sea. Mel Lyons, what important topic are you going to discuss?
The topic of our little discussion is the canvas that emphasizes benefits. Aside from actually taking the order, this, in my opinion, is the most exciting part of the sales presentation. It's also the most rewarding because, when skillfully done, this is the part where the lights of desire begin to flash in the customer's eyes and the bells of eager want begin to ring. I am reminded of a light-hearted love song which was popular some years ago. It was one of those ditties about a boy with no sweetheart, and his unenviable plight was likened to a train with no whistle, a car with no gas, a well with no water, a play with no cast. And of course, had they made this song really complete, they would have also listed another anomaly, that is, a sales talk with no benefits. Maybe the lyrics wouldn't fit so well, but indeed, like the car with no gas, a canvas just doesn't go anywhere without benefits. And it's just about as functional as a well without water. Why benefits? Can't people see those for themselves when they hear the facts? No. Most people can't, that is. Human reasoning being as it is, the benefits need to be set forth, sometimes clearly and distinctly, sometimes subtly, sometimes indirectly, but benefits must register before the bells and the chimes of eager want begin to ring in the prospect's mind, and only when such desire is present will the decision-making process go into effect in your favor. Rare is the man who will buy against his will, but a man will move heaven and earth to obtain that which he really wants. And so the function of benefits, as skillfully presented in your sales presentation, is to produce a desire or a want in the mind of the prospect. No wonder Dale Carnegie pointed out that for him who can arouse an eager want in others, the whole world walks with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Now, do you remember the steps of the sale? No doubt you studied them when you went to Beginner's Institute. Call it the rule of persuasion or the psychology of motivation if you wish. It's one and the same. Attention, interest, conviction, desire, action. 5 simple steps. I simply prefer to call it the mental law of the sale. And we're talking here about step number 4, desire. Although separate from step number 3, conviction, it is closely bound to it, as we shall point out in a moment. Simply stated, conviction in the mind of the prospect is achieved by stating clearly the facts. Desire is produced by revealing the benefits. Therefore, a good rule of thumb is to learn the art of following facts by the immediate suggestion of a benefit, and I'll repeat that. A good rule of thumb is to learn the art of following facts by the immediate suggestion of a benefit. Facts convince, benefits arouse want, and think about it for a moment. Now, haven't you had the exasperating experience of being turned down at the close of a canvass by someone whom you felt sure was going to buy? Oh, he was the nicest fellow. He agreed with everything you said, and you gave what you thought was a super presentation. At every step of the way, he nodded approvingly, and yet, in the end, he said, "It's really nice, but I guess I'll not take it today." Why? Well, probably because, and possibly because, unwittingly, you tried to short-circuit from step 3 to step 5, that is, from conviction to action, without using step 4, which is desire, and that's the benefit step. Now, don't feel bad if you've done this because you have lots of company. This crucial step of the sale is very often overlooked by people in all kinds of selling, and these individuals go through life known as struggling salesmen. And yet, if you really want to achieve that dimension of fun, and I mean real fun because it can be fun even in God's work, the fun that comes from knowing that you're doing a satisfactory sales performance, master step number 4. And this is what makes step number 5, the close, easy. So now, at this very moment, while we're taking a serious look at it, why don't you determine to start working on it today? Today, you may start to raise that sales batting average. As mentioned, to become an expert in pointing out the benefits, step 4, is to make this close, step 5, easy and pleasant. You know how distasteful it is to see a pressurized close. Perhaps you have witnessed such, where the sales representative resorts to cajolery and embarrassment techniques to induce a sale. That's not good business in any kind of selling, and especially in the Lord's work. We've all heard of the fellow whose work is described in this manner. He doesn't give much of a canvas, but he's a strong closer. Well, that, friend, is not selling. Oh, it's persuasion of a sort, but it is not selling. Far better to learn to arouse want or desire, and this is learned by thought, by trial, by application. Now, James was a nice fellow. He was a very self-sufficient person, and when he became a literature evangelist, he was willing to learn a canvas, but not the one issued by the publishing department. He wrote and memorized his own canvas, and it was a beauty in the sense that it told in every detail about the plan, the number of pages, the names of the contributing editors, the quality of construction. The content of the volume was articulated with such precision as to rival that of an official book report. Accurate, precise, factual. And when he gave that canvas, everybody agreed with him, and nobody bought. Why? The benefits were missing. James learned the hard way, but he did learn, and when he learned to combine the benefits with his facts, and this is not to sell short the value of facts. Knowing the facts is important, for it gives you confidence. It arouses confidence in the prospect. It enables you to speak with authority. Facts are important, but when he learned to skillfully back up his facts with benefits, then the bells began to ring in the minds of his customers. Now let's illustrate our point. I'll recite about 6 different sentences here which represent facts, any and all of which could be valuable to the sales situation. But although these facts are facts and they are indisputable, notice how barren they are, standing alone without the benefits. And then following each statement of fact, I will then give a repeat of the same fact, clothed with the benefit. And let's see if we can't start some bells to ringing. Now, the fact that we'll present first is the very simple fact that the Bible is easy to understand when read in the Bible story set. All right, I'm in the home, I'm before a prospect. And I say something like this. Indeed, the Bible is difficult to understand, for it is written in the style of the 16th century English. These beautiful volumes change all of that. Through superbly illustrated passages in the language of today, the message of the Bible becomes clear. Now, there you have a fact. In fact, 2 or 3 facts in a row. Now, it's a good fact, and it would seem to us that the benefits are most obvious. But to the prospect's mind, the prospect who incidentally has never heard your canvas before, the benefits still need to be related. Now let's run it by again and include the benefit. Notice the additional punch it gives. The Bible is difficult to understand, for it is written in the style of the 16th century English. These beautiful volumes change all of that. Through superbly illustrated passages, in the language of today, the message of the Bible becomes clear. Its eternal themes, Mrs. Thomas, when grasped by the innocent minds of your children, will instill in their young hearts a desire to stand up for what's right and make decisions of eternal value. You see, the fact has been converted to a bell-ringing benefit because Mrs. Thomas wants her children to make right decisions. Number 2. Now, here is a factual statement regarding a book like Bible Readings for the Home. I'm before the prospect, and I say, Now, this beautiful volume contains 18 sections covering 169 topics of the Bible, all of which are indexed for rapid reference. Now, let's run it by again with the benefit. You will notice, Mr. Jones, that with 18 sections covering 169 topics of the Bible and all indexed for rapid reference, it becomes invaluable to one seriously interested in what God's Word contains. In fact, to a man like yourself who teaches Sunday school, it makes a marvelous study help in the preparation of the lesson. Some have declared that for teaching enrichment, it often makes that difference between mediocrity and excellence. Of course, with all this information at one's fingertips, it saves his valuable time, and therefore it's easy to see why this unique volume is widely appreciated, isn't it, Mr. Jones? Number 3. In Volume 9 of the Bible Story Set, page 123, there is a powerful appeal to mother love. A literature evangelist can turn to that page where the illustration shows Mary at the foot of the cross, weeping, and Jesus says, "Woman, behold thy son." Perhaps you have used this. Try it sometime if you haven't, and turn to that page when you're talking to a mother. And read the words there, all right, beginning, "Woman, behold thy son." It is as if he said, "Goodbye, mother. John will look after you." Did ever more beautiful words come from his dying lips? Oh, wonderful, wonderful Jesus. In his last agonies, he thinks about his mother. Now, up until this point, you, the literature evangelist, have simply stated a fact, in effect, because you have been reading from that passage of the book. Now, attaching the benefit, you will follow through by saying, "You know, Mrs. Talmage, the lessons of love and respect which your children will learn from such examples will have lifelong effects upon their characters." Yes, the bells begin to ring when the customer senses the benefits. Number 4. These beautiful volumes are bound in mylar plastic, which is the toughest and most durable bookbinding known in the industry. Recently, one of these volumes was placed on a machine which opened and closed the cover over 100,000 times, after which examination showed only the slightest trace of wear. Now, there again, you have a fact. Be sure to add the benefit. This all adds up to an unexcelled durability in protecting your investment in this valuable service for your family. And so it comes through. Number 5, another fact in another sales setting. Of course, the emergency index is right here in brilliant color so that you can see it quickly. And the benefit? It's pretty comforting to know that such a reference is there in case it's needed, isn't it? No one is immune to an emergency, but everyone can be prepared. So it's really an investment in safety and protection for the entire family. Number 6, the fact, a very simple one, you'll notice that the type is large and clear. The benefit, thus you'll find many pleasant hours of reading without eye strain. And again the bells go off. So think about it. The message is clear. Present a canvas that emphasizes benefits. And the canvas will reach into the people's hearts, and the people will reach into their pockets, their purses, and even their savings accounts. When I bought my glasses, I really was purchasing better vision, not these silly frames. And when you purchase your automobile, you were really purchasing transportation and the convenience and pleasure it affords. As a husband, you may have purchased for your wife a new dress. But be honest, there were other dimensions involved in that purchase. Her appearance, her pleasure, your own sense of satisfaction, all was involved in that purchase. And the same can be said for gifts which a wife may purchase for her husband or her children. The purchase of a product is rarely consummated because of the product itself, but rather for the benefit which it promises. So it is that a man who did not consider himself in the market for a book will gladly invest in character for his children. A person who had no intentions of buying a book will happily spend money to save time, or make him wiser, or raise his status, or ensure better health. Even the anticipation of appreciation from grandchildren is a powerful benefit that helps grandparents secure your product in their behalf. Here are but a few benefits in the form of buying motives which you can build into your canvas, which emphasizes benefits. I will list 14 of them here. You might want to write them down. Number 1, improvement of knowledge. Number 2, self-esteem. Number 3, freedom from fear. 4, saving of time. 5, security. Character building. Appreciation from others. Eternal life. Pleasure. Status. Helpful guidance in rearing the family. Freedom from guilt. Saving of money. Better health. And there are many others, left up only to your own ingenuity and limited only thereby. So, jingle the bells, and so will your pockets. More than that, the satisfaction of a sales job well done and the placing of larger quantities of literature in the homes of candidates for the kingdom will be yours. When Ellen White admonished, exalt the value of the books you present, she was really saying, emphasize the benefits. So, put water in the well, put gas in the tank, sell benefits, emphasize them. Have a nice day. God bless you.
Cliff Okono of the Poconos of Pennsylvania and Publishing Department Secretary of the vast Canadian Union has been a specialist in selling our health publications and Life and Health magazine. As some of you overlook the health publications and sell only the religious and children's books, we have asked Cliff Okono to tell you how to use the right arm of the message.
In an address entitled A Century of Our Health Message, delivered October 2, 1963 at Battle Creek, Michigan, Elder F.D. Nickel called attention to the fact that only 2 weeks after we had organized the General Conference in June 1863, Ellen G. White received her first vision on our health message while at the home of A. Hilliard at Otsego, Michigan. 2.5 years later, on Christmas Day at Rochester, New York, she received her second vision concerning health, the care of the sick, and other matters upon which has been built the foundation of our whole health program. These visions, stated Elder Nickel, added a new dimension to our distinctive message. Health reform, says Mrs. White, was to be like the right arm to the body, a definite part of the third angel's message. And I want you to pay particular attention to the following words as I quote further from Elder Nickel's address. Quote, probably on no other subject did Mrs. White write more than on the subject of health, unquote. Later in her writings, Mrs. White stated that Jesus himself spent more time healing than he did preaching. It is interesting to look back and observe that one time our colporteurs placed so much emphasis on our health books and were so successful in selling them that Mrs. White found it necessary to remind them as follows, quote, while the health work has its place in the promulgation of the third angel's message, its advocates must not in any way strive to make it take the place of the message. The health books should occupy their proper position, but the circulation of these books is only one of many lines in the great work to be done, unquote. She goes on to say, quote, just as much education is necessary for the handling of the religious books as for the handling of those treating upon the question of health and temperance. Today the pendulum has swung in the opposite direction. In too many instances our health literature is completely ignored. We have now come to the place where Sister White's words are quite applicable when she stated later, quote, the difference with which the health books have been treated by many is an offense to God. To separate the health work from the great body of the work is not in his order. Present truth lies in the work of health reform as verily as in other features of gospel work. No one branch, when separated from the others, can be a perfect whole. Testimonies, Volume 6, pages 326 and 27. My decision to leave my lifetime profession and become a literature evangelist was not one which was made overnight. It had been preceded by many hours and days of thought, study, and inner turmoil. I had read and reread the statements in colporteur ministry. Likewise, I had studied with intense interest a course on gospel salesmanship which had been prepared many years before by S.L. Clark when he was publishing secretary for the Atlantic Union. When I eventually decided to put the statements of the local publishing secretary and the promises of God to the test, my academy-age daughters and I began without any assistance, since it was summertime and the field leaders were quite busy with the other students. Having read statements that the right arm is the entering wedge and the helping hand of the gospel, and also having earned my living for more than 20 years in the field of preventive medicine, it seemed only natural that I should talk to the people first about their physical well-being when I entered their homes. Little did I dream that this practice had at that time fallen into disuse, if not disrepute. God rewarded our efforts beyond our fondest expectations. Later, the associate publishing secretary came to my home and said he would like to go out with me and listen to my canvass. I told him that it was not much of a canvass and that I was merely doing what everybody else was doing. After we had visited several homes and God had blessed us, the secretary said, "Well, brother, you are doing things completely different than we do." I said, "How is that?" He said, "Why, you're talking about health first, but we usually present it last, if we talk about it at all, and then just include the health journals with our unit of sale." Later I found out that too often the journals were included without any knowledge of the purchaser as to what he was obtaining. I, on the other hand, had been placing strong emphasis on the timely information that would be supplied through our health education program. I pointed out, as Sister White had advised in Colporter Ministry, page 90, that I had publications which gave much valuable instruction regarding sickness and disease and how to avoid them, and that a study of this instruction would save much suffering and also much of the money spent in paying doctor bills. I told the folks also that these volumes contained advice which they could not possibly obtain from their physicians during the short visit that they made to his office or that he made to the home. I stated that our program and approach was a very simple one. The attention of the prospect was called to the high incidence of death due to heart disease, cancer, and the fact that our lifespan was much shorter than that of people in other less privileged countries. Having recently moved to Canada, I was challenged by one of our administrators when he made the statement that people would probably be interested in buying health books and literature in other parts of the world, such as the States, but here, where we have provincial health insurance, this approach and emphasis would not be effective. There was, of course, an element of truth in what had been said. However, it was also a challenging statement. 6 months later, I found myself an unwilling guest in the Lord Nelson Hotel in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I was obliged to stay overnight, since the weather prevented me from flying on to Sydney. I purchased a copy of the Chronicle Herald and looked at the headlines, which read as follows: "Health System Nears Crisis," says report. And then I went on to read as follows: "Nova Scotia's health system is rapidly approaching a crisis," says a report on health care tabled last night in the provincial legislature. The report, prepared for the government by the Nova Scotia Health Council, calls for a 5-year program of sweeping changes in the delivery of health care, including measures which will reduce annual increases in costs. It went on to say that the first priority in designing a new system would be a fundamental reorganization of health care which would place the emphasis on prevention rather than on treatment of disease. Included in prevention programs would be greater emphasis on screening, immunization, accident prevention, and health education. Here was the very ammunition that I was looking for, and I did not wait long to use it. 2 months later, I had the opportunity to put my newfound knowledge to work. I was canvassing from door to door in the city of Moncton, and as usual, after entering the home and making point of contact, I used the right arm as the entering wedge. My comments went something like this: "Mrs. Prospect, did you know that over 77,000 Canadians last year died from heart disease? It is a shame in a country where we have provincial health care that the death rate from so many common ailments remains at an all-time high. Thinking people realize that health insurance does not make them healthy, but rather helps to pay the bills when they become sick. It should be called sickness insurance. And certainly life insurance has been misnamed too. It should be called death insurance, for the only way you can truly benefit from this type of insurance is to die and let your survivors enjoy their newfound wealth. Yes, we are spending thousands of dollars for sickness and death insurance and are completely ignoring the fact that an ounce of prevention is certainly worth a pound of cure. Surely we need to go to the doctor when we are sick, but is it not better to so live that our visits to the physicians are minimized? We will never have a healthier nation by building more hospitals or training more doctors and nurses. The answer lies in education and prevention, and that is the reason that I am here today. We have a very simple 3-point health education program for your home, one from which you cannot help but benefit if you will just take the time to acquaint yourself with the information which is so conveniently provided. First, we leave with you in your home this beautiful 3-volume, 1,538-page guide to healthful living entitled You and Your Health. I have been told that it costs the average physician in excess of $40,000 to obtain his education. Once he begins to practice, he is able to earn anywhere from $200 to $400 a day and upward, and as a specialist can demand even more than that. What do you think the lifetime experience of a specialist is worth, Mrs. Prospect? Here, compressed between the covers of these 3 beautiful volumes, is the lifetime experience of not 1, but 40 consultant specialists. How much is that worth? 9 out of 10 times you will hear the prospect say, priceless. Yes, it is priceless, isn't it? These volumes are not merely what-to-do doctor books, which tell you what to do when you get sick, but rather how to live medical guides to enable you to remain well and minimize your periods of unnecessary illness. These 3 volumes will bring you up to date, and then our follow-up service will keep you up to date. Each month for 3 years, delivered directly to your homes, you will receive our 2 family journals, Life and Health and Listen. They bring you timely, practical, and easy-to-understand information, and also help to protect you and your family against the threat of these days incurred through the use of drugs, alcohol, and nicotine. Thirdly, we offer you a free counseling service where your questions on health are answered free of charge during the period of your enrollment. In the United States, the average cost for 1 day of hospitalization is $100 or more. If this service would help you avoid just 1 day stay in the hospital, it would save you almost twice the small investment that it represents and could save your life. How much value do you place upon your life? By using the right arm, our health literature and message, as the entering wedge for your initial point of contact with the prospect, you are actually paving the way for the sale. In Cole Porter Ministry, page 133, the following statement is recorded, quote, I'm informed by my guide, all who believe in proclaiming the truth should not only practice health reform, but teach it diligently to others. This will be a strong agency in calling the attention of the unbelieving to consider that if we are intelligent upon this subject in regard to healthful diet and practices, we would be sound on the subjects of Bible doctrine, unquote. Yes, it does help to develop confidence in the mind of the prospect. By using this approach, you will rarely have the people say to you, by the way, what church do you belong to? For you are sharing with them a nationwide program to help them to longer lives and healthier living, backed by the continent's finest physicians, teachers, ministers, and medical research centers. In addition to creating interest and removing objections, you actually double the number of benefits which your service is able to offer to the prospective buyer. You also help to expand the vision of the customer and his estimate of the value of your service, for you are identifying your plan with a nationwide program which includes the assistance of some of the country's finest experts and consultants. Rather than offering people a book or a set of books, you are truly offering them a program which involves longer life, healthier living, and peace of mind. 15 years ago, before the doctor office advertising plan came into existence, there was a man in one of the largest unions in North America who established an all-time record for his day. In 10 years, he delivered over $250,000 worth of literature. I was curious to know what type of canvas this man used, and later at an institute discovered that he, too, was placing strong emphasis on the right arm of the message in his contacts in the homes. He always included a 3-year subscription to Life and Health, and at that time also sold a modern medical counselor, along with the Bible stories and 1 or 2 of our large message books. Another blessing also seemed to follow in the wake of these record sales, for this man not only led his union in total sales, but also enjoyed one of the lowest cancellation rates of any worker in the union at that time. I likewise had been blessed with the same experience. Can it be that following God's plan really produces results? Can it be that your program may be improved by following this course of action? In conclusion, I would like to share with you a quotation from Cole Porter Ministry, page 135. Quote, "Perfect unity should exist among the workers who handle the books that are to flood the world with light. Wherever the canvassing work is presented among our people, let both the health books and the religious books be presented together as parts of a united work. The relation of the religious and health books is presented to me as illustrated by the union of the warp and the woof to form a beautiful pattern and a perfect piece of work." Unquote. I am sure that we all want to strive to do a perfect work, and I am confident that you will find that the right arm will make you more effective, more productive, more enthusiastic, and more efficient workers for the kingdom of God.
Elder Herbert White has proven his worth through the years as an administrator and successful departmental leader in a number of conferences, mission unions, and in the great Australasian Division. In recent years, his keen mind and dedicated leadership have benefited the world field as an associate publishing secretary of the General Conference. Let us listen in as Herb White, a real pro, gives personalized instructional training to one of his colporteur recruits.
Congratulations, George. It was a pleasure to watch you develop your presentation and to see you move positively yet smoothly through the close to the securing of the signature on the contract and the receiving of the down payment. You, of course, had your prospects' cooperation. It is to your credit, however, that what you said and did and what you are stimulated your prospect to cooperate so rewardingly. George, before we go to our next call, let us review that last presentation of yours. My very first publishing leader, when giving me my beginning training as a student literature evangelist, said, "Herb, there are 3 simple but positive steps you must take if you would be a successful closer. The first step requires intelligence. The second step requires helpfulness. And the third requires courage." He then went on to explain the steps. 1. Pose a problem. 2. Provide a solution to that problem. 3. Call for action. And then he repeated. 1. Pose a problem. 2. Provide a solution. And 3. Call for action. You were successful in your presentation, George, because you not only posed a problem, but in an intelligent manner made it your prospect's personal or family problem. You were successful because you provided a solution to his personal problem, a personal solution to his personal problem in the service you presented. You were successful because your presentation called for and gained from him action of the desired and planned for variety. Since those beginning lessons in salesmanship, experts and personal experience have taught me that there are 3 other important steps to a successful close. These 3 steps are based on the following imperatives. We must get with our prospect physically. This first step requires that our prospects feel comfortable in our physical presence, our style of dress, our mannerisms, our poise, our personality, and our related physical factors. If we fail to get with our prospects physically, a good presentation is hampered and a good close made well nigh impossible. Someone has said, clothes help you close. You were successful because you were with your last prospect physically. Step 2 requires that we get with our prospect mentally. You are in competition for your prospect's mind. When you first meet, other matters are on his mind. What you are, what you do, what you show, and what you are must enable you to get with your prospect mentally. You were successful because you claimed and cultivated his attention through to the close. Step 3 is the acid test of the quality of your presentation. Upon this step, you will succeed with your close or you will fail. You must get with your prospect emotionally. You are emotionally involved with your service. You believe in it. You believe it is the solution to your prospect's special problem. You are excited about it. So far, so good. But if your prospect does not warm to your service and does not share your enthusiasm for or your confidence in your service, in other words, if he and you do not get together emotionally on your proposition, no successful close is likely. Your last presentation was successful because you succeeded in getting with your prospect emotionally. Now, George, I guess we had better be on our way to the next call. But wait a moment. There is just one other important observation I would make. I noticed that after your very successful close, you were anxious to move on quickly to your next call and to new conquests. I thought I detected a slight indication of disappointment that I lingered a little and did not break away from the prospect as quickly as you probably would have liked. I am now going to share with you perhaps one of the most important lessons in selling. It is that a salesman's work is not complete when he has successfully closed the sale. Why? Because every human being is subject to a condition that is bothersome. It comes after making any decision of any kind. It is known by 3 initials, P, D, A. It is post-decision anxiety. In the salesman's situation, it is post-buying anxiety. The customer begins to have afterthoughts as to whether he has done the right thing, made the right decision. Perhaps the money was needed for something more important. Perhaps he should have bought later. Perhaps he should have taken counsel. A multitude of afterthoughts. What the prospect stands in urgent need of right then is confirmation, reassurance. If he does not get it from the salesman, he will try to get it elsewhere. That could be fatal for the sale. That is the time for the salesman to reaffirm his confidence in his service and to carefully commend the customer on his decision. That is the time to seek to help the customer to be confident that he has made the right decision and to justify his judgment by promoting the product by making referrals to his friends. To him it will be a comforting and even reassuring to feel that he does not stand alone. That is the time for the literature evangelist to project the image of being more than a salesman, of being dedicated to helping others in need. That is the time, may be, for a short, simple prayer that the Lord will bless the customer, his family, and the service that will shortly come to the home. Not so long ago, one of my literature evangelists from Adelaide, South Australia, wrote to share with me an experience he had, with the suggestion that perhaps I would like to share it with literature evangelists around the world. Here it is. I was showing a lady my books, he wrote, when she asked if I were the man who sold her Desire of Ages some years before. She then proceeded to tell me why she had asked. She had purchased the book Desire of Ages, and when the man was about to leave, he turned and told her that if at any time she was in trouble, she should turn to Desire of Ages and read from some pages that he told her about. It was a happy home at that time. The husband was a successful businessman in town. Then the devil struck the family a terrible blow. The husband became an alcoholic. After work, instead of coming directly home to his family, he would go to the club and later stagger into his home intoxicated. The evening meal prepared so attractively was passed up unwanted and unappreciated. The patient wife persevered with the problem until eventually her spirit snapped. She made a decision. She would end it all. She would murder him. Accordingly, one evening, after her husband staggered into the bedroom and fell short of the bed to the floor, she went and got the gun. While she was looking for the ammunition, she remembered what the literature evangelist had said about Desire of Ages in any time of trouble. She read it and put the gun away. The next morning she gave him breakfast as usual. He kept right on, night after night, for 6 months in the same pattern. Her patience again vanished, and again she decided she would shoot him. That evening, when he came home, he was in a shocking condition as she got the gun. This time she loaded it and was on her way to the bedroom, where he was lying in a drunken stupor. Just outside the bedroom, on a pedestal, was the book Desire of Ages lying open. She stopped and read a line or two, then read more. Gradually, the gun opened, the cartridges came out, and quietly the gun was put away. She came back to the lounge, picked up Desire of Ages, read a little, and lapsed into weeping. This went on for a few hours. She would read just a few more pages, then there would be more weeping. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, she tried to sleep, but sleep would not come. The next morning she gave her husband breakfast as usual. After breakfast she thought she should tell him what had happened the night before, because the situation now had become altogether too dangerous. She did. He apologized and has never touched alcohol since. You see, George, it pays to confirm. Confirmation in this case not only sealed a sale, it saved a man's life. It saved a woman from becoming a murderess, and saved two beautiful teen-age daughters from having a murderess as a mother. Let's go to more calls, more closes, more confirmations, and to more conquests for God.